we're all going through kind of similar things. We have a lot of empathy to share with each other if you were to share your problems. It's the juxtaposition of like the internal struggle, but everyone's going through that same struggle, like trying to not care so much about the outcome and trying to be a little bit more trusting in your gut.
Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Schaefer of Talks with Dr. Schaefer. I'm so glad you're here. I'm a physician, mom, coach, author, publisher, and I'm passionate about helping others reclaim their stories so they can build their most beautiful future. We have an amazing storyteller in the form of music and community building on the show today, Pace Randolph. Pace Randolph is a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and a choir director on a global scale with the Choir Imperfect, a captivating musical artist coming from Australia. With his debut album, Pace is accepting vocal contributions from his fans to be a part of the magic of music making. The multi-talented artist is inviting 100,000 singers to join him on his debut album in a collective choir unlike anything we've ever heard before. Pace Randolph is here to tell us more about that and to share his inspiring story with us. Pace, thank you so much for being here.
Wow. Thank you. That makes me sound very impressive. I appreciate it.
Well, I think our listeners are going to learn very quickly that you are, in fact, very impressive and you are doing some very impressive things. To start off with your story, Pace, when did you decide that your passion and focus was music?
I'm someone who has always played music. I remember sitting down at the piano when I was 6 and just writing my first song without being told to. And there was I didn't know what a songwriter was. So it kind of came naturally to me, which is a bit of a boring answer. But throughout school, and I was playing in bands in school and all the rest of it, I realized coming out of school that I'm going to have to work really hard at something in my life. And music was the thing that I could work on for 14, 16 hours a day and it didn't feel like work. So I was like, I should probably do this because if I'm going to have to work hard at something, it might as well be the one thing that doesn't feel like work. So I've always done music. There have been various points in my life where, I lost hope or I wasn't as filled with confidence and all the rest of it. But from a personal artist project perspective and the Pace Randolph project, that's really been something that has taken off since COVID. Up until that point, it was various bands and experimentation and things like that.
I want to really zoom in on the insecurities that you shared, because if our listeners haven't heard you sing before and haven't heard your production quality before, pause, listen to a song, and then come back. And I think that's really helpful for all of us to know that, we can be that naturally gifted and still have insecurities and still wonder if it's good enough. And that reminds me of on your YouTube, you actually wrote on your page, the lives and times of an aspiring imperfectionist, because you're trying to break out of that not enoughness, seeking perfection, and into just embracing where you were.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my whole journey, basically. And look, I'd love to sit here and say I was an amazing singer from a young age, but it's not the case. My first recordings when I was, sort of 13, 14 years old in high school are awful, awful. And but as I said, it's the thing that I was just happy to work on every single day. And, you get better and better and better. And I know my limitations as a musician, as a singer. I like to think I know what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. I'm not, Lewis Capaldi or whatever. I don't have that voice, but I've worked at what I've got, and just, you don't get there by trying to make it perfect, because the ability to make mistakes is what you learn from. And so my whole journey as a musician, even as a person, has been about trying to give myself permission to fail.
It's where so many of the most beautiful moments happen. And we don't listen to a song, most of us aren't listening to opera hoping to get the exact perfect tones for that character. We're listening and we're thinking, oh, what interesting character and tone that person has that makes them different, makes them unique.
Totally. I mean, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever received was from a friend of mine, Stephen Munson, I met him when I was living in Paris. He's like an old London punk, and he became sort of a very close friend of mine and a sort of a de facto manager at that point when I was early in my career. And he said, because we're doing vocal takes and I was trying to get it right and trying to get the right notes, and he said, look, stop trying to sing the right note. We're not in the business of notes, we're in the business of emotions. All you have to do is make someone feel what you're feeling. And you're not going to get there by playing the right notes or singing in tune. And I always try to remind myself that when I'm approaching an artistic project or when I'm in the studio trying to get a take. This is the business of emotions. All I have to do is make people feel something. That's all that matters. And I feel like a lot of people I wish a lot of people had that advice as well. And I'm so grateful that I had it at the time that I did, because it's so true. You know, Taylor Swift, she's not the best singer in the world. She knows she's not the best singer in the world, but she makes people feel, and that's all that matters. Like, music for me is the most effective form of emotional communication that we have.
That's beautiful. And it makes me think about when I was listening to your music, and, you know, you tend to sing in a certain range in your self-written music. But then when you are covering someone else, right, you kind of break out of the notes that maybe you live in when you're writing for yourself. And I listened to you sing From Now On, and I was like, wait, is he a bass? What just happened? You know, so it was not just the tone and the range, but I think the also reason that it was so impactful was not just your impressive range and tone, but what you just talked about, which was the emotional range that you were really capturing with the way you delivered the music. So you had all of that. But I will say, you know, it's an impressive range. Not everyone, I wasn't expecting that when I heard From Now On. That gave me pause. Like, wow, I didn't know that he had that range.
Yeah, you know what? And people have said that, and I don't know why, but I'm like incapable of writing myself in that range. I don't know why, and it's something that I really want to work on, and I'd love to have that feature in some future songs, because people said, wow, I didn't know you could sing like that, and that's like my favorite time I've heard you sing, and I'm like, oh no, I'm missing a trick here. But yeah, but it's all like, are you telling the story? Are you telling the emotion of the song effectively? That's all that matters. It's kind of an ongoing project, and we're releasing it in sections. I'm calling it an album because it's just an easy way to like get the point across to people. But basically, we're doing it in 3 parts, and the first part is being turned into a musical / narrative concert experience, which will be the tour. So we'll tour that show, and then we'll move on to the next part of the record and the next part. So it's going to be like a 2-year project, basically. So I just refer to it as the Choir Imperfect project, and that involves the recordings. It also involves the live experience and the community around it.
I can only imagine how much you will evolve as a person and as an artist and as a group, because it is a group project, a very, very large group project over
Yeah.
that long of a period of time. Kind of makes me think like Taylor Swift Eras Tour, right? Like, she's on tour and she's like, and here's a whole new album. We're changing everything, because I've been doing this for over a year.
Well, look, I'm not going to compare myself to Taylor Swift. You can do that. But yeah, the whole point is that it's kind of evolving, and the story evolves, and, you know, we'll play the show and we'll be like, you know what, we can change this part and change this part, because there's a whole narrative that runs through it. And the songs are inspired by letters written to me from members of the community about their lives, and then I try and figure out a way to weave that in, and what are the common threads and what are the themes that come up, and then, okay, how can I represent that through the storytelling or the music or the lyrics? So the whole thing is just like, it's constantly evolving. And then you have a week like last week where you get 10,000 more people in, and you're like, okay, this is different. This adds another energy, and this adds another dynamic to the whole project. How do we manage that? How do we make people still feel seen and represented, but also acknowledging that, like, you know, it's different there's a different energy when you have that many people, and there's going to be more. So the whole thing is constantly evolving, but that's kind of what I love about it.
Well, I can tell you. So I met you online when you were going about this 10,000 person project with Wait For It from the Hamilton musical, which is one of our family's favorite songs. I mean, it's such a great belty song, right? It's just.
Yeah. It's my favorite song from that musical. And it's probably one of the best musicals anyone has ever heard. But I find that song really strikes a chord with me in particular because it's very relatable, I think. A lot of people feel like they're holding themselves back, or they're waiting for their right moment, or they're overthinking and all the rest of it. So it's one of the most relatable songs in that musical, because a lot of the songs are quite, like, I don't know, historically constrained by the subject matter. Anyway, that's a tangent, but yes, it's an amazing song, and it's perfect for the Choir Imperfect.
No, it makes perfect sense, actually, especially when you think about embracing imperfection, your song. And I see from what you were discussing there, right? I see ties to that. And it also, when the way you talk about how you experience Wait For It as a listener made me think about my experience listening to Fear Me, your song, as a listener. And so it's interesting to me that in a way, William Burr, he's kind of the villain, right, in the story. And yet I think it's a very common experience for people who love Hamilton, have listened to the musical, and, they could probably belt out, you could just like give them a cue and they could start wherever you are in the musical, right? Like, it's really a part of your life. That song is special to so many people, and it is so relatable, even though he's the villain, right?
See,
Like,
I felt closer to his character than a lot of the other characters.
yeah.
And I
No,
think
I agree.
that's one of the beautiful things about that musical, is that you don't really know who the bad guy is, and Hamilton's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
And there's this whole weird love triangle thing going on, and then so I'm more drawn towards Burr's character than anybody's. I think he's the most human, almost, because everyone doing these amazing things is kind of like, yeah, sure, it's hard to relate. So yeah, I completely agree. It's a great point.
Yeah, and it makes me think, again, to tie it to your song Fear Me, which I want to talk about kind of at length, because I think it's just such a masterclass of sitting in those emotions. And I'm curious what you wrote about. You may not want to share that, because I know everyone's experience as a listener, right? We want to kind of allow them to have their pure relationship that's untainted by the songwriter's relationship to the lyrics sometimes. But when I listen to Fear Me, the honesty, the vulnerability that you're playing with, and what I hear is someone who is grappling with feelings about self, but there's also, it's almost like watercolor paint that's showing this genetic line and environmental line of kind of what you experienced in your family system, right? And passing it around is something you mentioned, right? Bottle it up. Bite your tongue, bottle it up, and pass it around. And so when I listen to the song, there's so much about the personal experience, but then there's also this shared experience that I feel. And again, I think there's the connection there. So when you did Wait For It, knowing your body of music, that made so much sense. And I love that from, as an artist, the more you get to know an artist, you kind of see these invisible strings and a larger story that you're trying to tell. And a lot of what I hear from you is healing and community.
Very astute. Yeah, I mean, I was trying not to be too, like, bashful or dismissive of someone who, like, is prepared to look at what I'm doing and be very complimentary and kind of pull the meaning out of it. So I really appreciate that, and thank you. One of the things I think that is massively underpinning all of the creative work that I'm doing at the moment is I guess a little bit of self-forgiveness and self-development kind of thing, embracing your imperfections and realizing that most likely your journey of self-actualization is probably the most important journey you'll ever go on. But there's a reason for that journey, and the reason is when you learn to, first of all, know who you are and kind of accept that, and then learn to love that. Only from that place can you show up as yourself, and then only from that place can other people see you as who you truly are and accept you as who you truly are. Because up until that point, you're acting, and anyone who interacts with you is getting this surface level, a masked version of what you're trying to portray. So they don't know who you are. They can't actually connect with you. So it's like the process of self-actualization and self-realization is the only way to forge that sense of belonging. Because until that point, you can't really belong. People can't really love you and accept you and welcome you into their lives if you don't show up as yourself. So that's you literally nailed it right on the head. It's like, figure out who you are and then show up in the world as that, and then you will find your people.
It's so beautiful. I mean, and quite literally, you're finding your people, and you're not just finding them, you're including them and making them feel that their voice matters. Because I think that's something that we also, that came to me with your lyricism is there's this, I say limiting belief of, keep it quiet, break me, fix me, break me, complicate me, which just stunning. I love that progression. And I love in the video how in those moments, how it's really cinematically fascinating how you chose to do the video. So everyone listen, watch the video for Fear Me. Because again, it's not only your story, you're sharing the spotlight with a lot of other people, and the way you incorporate the pictures, the cinematography is really, really stunning, and such interesting storytelling along with the song.
You asked me earlier what my interpretation of the song is, and while I think that is interesting and relevant, a large part of this is the realization that we all go through so much struggle internally, and we have this feeling that, oh, no one understands me, no one can no, like I can't share this problem because people won't understand. But the irony is, as everybody knows, like, it's easy to know this, but it's harder to embody it, is that we're all going through kind of similar things. Like, we have a lot of empathy to share with each other if you were to share your problems. And it's the juxtaposition of the internal struggle, but everyone's going through that same struggle, and trying to just shine a light on the fact that be a bit kinder to yourself, because we're all in it together and we're all dealing with the same stuff. So yeah, that, I love these songs. They're so beautiful to me, and I love the fact that I get to share them. But the most important thing, the thing I love the most, is that it's not just me singing on them. There's all these other people. The lyrics themselves are inspired by stories from people a part of the community, and everyone has their own take on it. And I'm not an artist who's like, no, this song is about this, that's how it should be interpreted. I think the interpretation is entirely up to the listener. My job is to just try and present it in a way that makes people feel seen and understood.
And that, I think, is one of the core points that I was landing on, is everyone feels this way. And the limiting belief is, oh, if everyone feels this way, then I should bottle it up, and hide it. And what you're saying, and what we see in art, and we see in our close relationships where we do get vulnerable, we do really connect with one another, is it's in the sharing of those maybe mundane, but also ultimately very powerful and meaningful emotions and moments and times in our lives that we really find connection. So seeing the power in your one voice to write the song, to sing the line. And I can tell you, I did your project. I did the Choir Imperfect for Wait
Oh,
For
right.
It. I did. And It is really funny. And I used to record music back when I was a teenager. I was a recording artist back then. And it's been a really long time since I recorded. And even myself with experience, I was thinking, wow, like this makes you feel nervous and valued and heard. Even when you're in a choir of 10,000 people, having the opportunity to sit there and sing songs and lyrics that are so meaningful, to have you do your clip where you're explaining, this is the part, this is how I want you to sing, these are the notes, this is the timing. It's such a cool collective experience. And it's not just about music. It's about something that I think my word for this year, I don't do resolutions for New Year. I try to focus on energy and words. And my word that kept coming to me when I was thinking this year was community, because I know for myself, I've been aching for a deeper connection with community. And I think so many people are doing so. And I think that is so evident in the fact that people just were so engaged and so excited to take part in this activity that makes a lot of people feel like they're standing on a stage naked, even if they're, in their home, no one can actually see them recording. It still is a very nerve-wracking, vulnerable thing to do.
Totally, completely. And one of the things, I mean, first of all, while you were saying that, I just looked up your submissions, because I have them all in I'm actually going through them literally today and like this whole week. I'm going through them all and trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to put this thing together. But yes, I love
You
your
don't need
outfit.
to listen to those. Just pass those over.
But you're sitting in the same chair and
I am.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you for that. But I get messages from people and they're like, "Thank you so much for doing this. I was so scared to do it, but I built up the courage. It took me however many tries, but I'm so like grateful to be a part of this, and it was such a big thing for me to do this." And I never want to underestimate how difficult it can be for someone to contribute in this way. So for some people, it's press record. They love to do it. They love the spotlight, all the rest of it. But one of the things I love to think about is like, okay, there's 10,000 or whatever video recordings on this one, however many submissions I've had in the past for other songs, and a good proportion of the people submitting had to at some point like sit down and like psych themselves up for it and conquer a fear, and then they would press submit and they would move about the rest of their day being like, you know what, I did that. And I'm proud of that. And it's like a little piece of evidence that they can do a hard thing and that they can conquer a fear. And if that isn't a small effect that I have been able to have on a number of people, then that is something I'm immensely proud of. And every message that I get that is of that, along that vein of like, thank you for helping me push through this fear, and feeling this sense of accomplishment is huge, is like one of the things that makes me keep going and keep doing it and see value in it.
Was this a natural progression? Because I'm curious how you landed on creating this online portal and community and making the album, because I know from looking at your amazing social media clips that you have up there. And by the way, if you want to feel inspired and feel good, go watch those. You've got these great videos of you busking. And then that kind of evolved from just you busking, which of course you still go out and perform, but then there was a microphone for someone else to come and sing a part. And then it looked to me like you're also doing the same thing, but with, really large groups of people at live shows. And so there's seems to be, from the outside looking in, this interesting evolution, again, as we talked about with touring in the future. How did it start, and then where did it go with regards to turning this from, a multi-talented artist? You can play several musical instruments, singer, songwriter, producer, all those things. How did it evolve from, stepping outside of yourself and creating this more collective experience?
So I'd love to say that it was this kind of master plan that I came up with, but I think in all honesty, a lot of this is just trial and error. And the real moment for me was when I was you know, I kind of hate using this as like the turning point because it's so trite or cliche, but it's like, okay, the 2020, 2021 lockdown period during COVID. And it was a real chance for me to be like, okay, I can't do any of the things that I was doing to push my music career. I can't play the shows and all the rest of it. So I'm going to just have to figure out a way to make it work. And that was for me around the similar time where I was kind of unpacking my perfectionism and realizing that I had been holding myself back so effectively by overthinking and wanting this song that I release has to be perfect. It has to change my life when I release it. So I'm going to remix it and re-record it and rewrite it. And then like 2 years can go past before, and you still haven't done anything because you've convinced yourself that this needs to be the thing that changes your life. So I made a decision around that time to be like, okay, I'm going to write a song every single day and I'm going to post it on TikTok. And that's going to be my way of getting over my perfectionism, as well as building up like a catalog of songs and practicing putting myself out there online. And I started to do that and started to realize, okay, well, this is not so bad. Like the song's not great, but I can put it out there and it doesn't, nothing bad happened to me when I shared a song that didn't change my life. So I started to enjoy the process and showing up every day. And all of a sudden people were coming back the next day and the next day to see the next song. And I started to build an online following through that. And, after, several months, I was like, well, I'm kind of done writing songs. I feel like I've got way more than I would ever need. I'll start releasing them. So I started releasing a song every 2 weeks and taking people on the journey of producing that and recording it and then releasing it. And one song came up. There was a song called Push You Further. And I was like, you know what, this song would really work. It would really sound cool if I had like a gang vocal or a choir singing on the chorus, but I'm stuck in my bedroom. I can't afford that, let alone I don't know enough people, blah, 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 blah. So I just put a TikTok video out and I was like, hey, if anybody wants to, like if there's anyone, I think I had maybe 10,000 followers at this point. And I was like, surely there's someone out there that can just do a home recording. So I said, if you guys want to be on this song, it's coming out next week or whatever, just duet this video and sing along with me at the end. And then I'll download your video, convert it to MP3 and put it in the song. Fully hoping that maybe like 20 people would do it and I could like fudge it a little bit and it would sound cool. But within 2 days, I had 200 people duet the video and sing the part. And that just it completely blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. Like this is something that people would like care about. And as an artist up until that point, having like very little quote unquote success or like exposure to people outside of my, my social network or whatever, I was like, wow, this is the first time I really felt like I had something. And so instead of just being like, this is my song, Push You Further, I was like, why don't I create a separate artist project for these people and call them the Choir Imperfect, which is playing on that embracing imperfect thing that I was kind of going through, and I'd written that song. I'll call them the Choir Imperfect, and they're their own artists, and they have their own artist projects on Spotify, and we can do songs together, and I can get them I can try and facilitate that recording process, and they can feature on my music. And it evolved from there, and then I did another song, and I at that point I did I added a key change, did a video where I added a key change to the song From Now On from The Greatest Showman, and that got like 2 million views. And I was like, okay, well, I guess people like this, and why don't we do that with the Choir Imperfect? Perfect song for the choir. So I posted that and had like 500-700 people join that song, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is my thing. I love doing this. I love putting it together. But it feels disjointed. People don't really know, like from the outside, you don't really know what it is. How can I try and really take people on a journey here? So the idea of a concept album came up, and from that point, I was asking people, okay, send me your favorite albums. I'll listen to them all and review them and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then, okay, write stories to me from your lives about the most emotionally significant moments. And then I'll try to piece together some narratives through that. And the three themes that came up over and over again were loss, love, and belonging. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's a journey in there somewhere that we can pull from these stories. And a lot of the lyrics are literally pulled from, from stories from people's lives. And some of the most touching lyrics are people who sent me pictures of letters that were left to them by loved ones who passed away, or someone who knew they were going to pass away, and that was the last thing they ever wrote, or someone who never saw their father again when they were 16, and this was the last letter he left her. So I'm trying to pull from all of this, and even that journey has gone from, okay, this is a concept album, to, okay, this is a collaborative project, which is just as much about the live experience as it is about the recorded experience. My goal is somebody joins, maybe it's like yourself through the Hamilton cover that we're doing at the moment. Someone joins and is like, oh, what's this? This is kind of interesting. And then they maybe sing on one of the original songs, and they join they find people in the comment section, or they join the Discord community. We've now got like 1,500 people in the Discord community or on the emails. And my goal is that you would join up, meet someone who's like, oh, I'm in Sydney. Oh, I'm in Sydney too. And you start chatting together on the Discord, and all of a sudden you're starting to make friends within the community. And then you come to the live show, and like 15, 20 people who are already going to be there. So it's like, it's not just a concert. It's like you're meeting up with your friends to then sing all these songs that you've been a part of the experience of writing and recording and producing. And the goal is that people literally show up to sing with their friends. Like, that's what it is. So that whole journey from me being like, you know what, I'm going to try and embrace imperfection and not be such a perfectionist, to the Choir Imperfect project where it is now, was just a series of happy accidents. But it all makes sense when you look backwards. But there was no plan.
I think plans are kind of the enemy, right? You were more leaning into, right, and following the feeling of what worked and what was getting you closer to your end goal, which is your artistry, but it took a different form than it started at, which that's the goal. And now it's just this absolutely beautiful thing. And I compared you to Taylor Swift earlier, and you rebuked that for a moment, but then you sat with it. You let me do it. But I will say, there are a lot of parallels in artistry and community. And I think that's really cool. And I really hope that when we get, the not tortured poets department, now that, she's kind of in a different place in her life. Remember that we declared Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. It's going to be, we declare Randolph is going to be a bigger artist.
Look, I mean, it's so funny. Like, I spent a lot of time trying to, I don't know, be cool or be like an artist, and try to get noticed by, like, I don't know, the industry, or all this, like, radio play and all the rest of it. And the thing that actually seemed to work for me was just, I'm not that cool. I'm kind of goofy, and no one in the industry gives two shits about me, really. I don't fit into that mold. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to lean in so hard on the people that actually care, and they're my boss. I don't care about trying to impress anybody anymore, and that was very freeing for me. And I was just like, no one else is doing this. I don't know why no one else is doing this. It seems like a no-brainer. Like, it's crazy to me that I haven't seen someone else be like, hey, come and sing on my album, or come and sing on my... But, okay, this is my lane, and I'm just going to carve it out myself. And I don't have any competition, because who else is... Like, it's very freeing to be in that position. I'm not trying to be chase a Taylor Swift or whatever. She did her own thing. And even if it's like the Choir Imperfect is the thing, and it's not Pace Randolph, and it's not about me, that's kind of cool. Like, I'd be way more proud of that. Like, I think a lot of artists get stuck in this, like, waiting for someone to give them permission, or like to put a stamp of approval on their project, whether that's the industry or like some tastemaker or whatever it is. I found a lot of freedom in just doubling down on my thing when there's no competition, and all I do is interact with fans, interact with the audience members, interact with the community, what are they like? What do they love about it? And be like, yeah, we can double down on that. We can double down on that. That's who I try to service now. And wherever that takes me, whatever. It feels good at the moment. People are excited. I have big ambitions for it, but I'm fully prepared to be wrong about everything and pivot and change and go kind of lean into what feels good. That's, I think, one of the things I've learned in the last, couple of years of going from focusing on the outside world to just be like, I just want to really give the people that actually care the best experience that they can get. So like, yeah, make Charlie Puth famous, make Pacer Randolph famous, whatever. I think just service the people that care enough about you to engage, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think, again, parallels, it's the artistry, right? And this is a group of people, everyone that we've mentioned are a group of people that are really serious about their art, and they're really serious about the people that they are making art with and for. All of these people that we've discussed, they're very community driven, and they're very also extremely talented, and like yourself, they know how to do all the things. I mean, that comes across in the work you do. You're not just playing an instrument. You're not just singing. You're not just directing. You're not just brainstorming all these things and creating community. You're doing a little bit of everything, which I really relate to as well. And I feel in the closest flow and the closest to who I am as a person when I'm allowed to be all these different versions of myself. And I can do this for 15 minutes and then I can go do that and I can put it all together and it's all these different parts of who I am. And then I can invite someone else to be a part of it. And I can be my goofy self. You mentioned about yourself, I'm goofy, I don't fit in. I don't think any of us really fit in. And until we actually say, I'm just going to be my goofy self. I'm a neurologist and we joke. I came up with this in residency. Instead of neurologists, I say we're nerdologists because if you go into neurology, like you're nerdy. And that's why I ended up in that medical specialty because at the end of the day, that felt good. Like these are my people. They're really excited about understanding things. And they're also because the brain is kind of a black box a bit. We don't really know that much. And yet you still have to practice medicine, right? You still have to do well by your patients, still have to not get sued practicing in, United States where it's, very litigious. So, right. You have to know your stuff, but you also have to be very comfortable with embracing that there's only so much and there's way more that you don't know than what you do know. And you still have to do your best walking in those shoes every single day and be willing to change the next day because you're going to have new information. And maybe something you said yesterday, a new article comes out, right? We learn something new and that's no longer the case anymore. And you can't feel bad about it because you were practicing evidence-based medicine, doing your best by your patients, and now you have to evolve and grow. And so I see so many parallels in that process. And I think a lot of us, when we're younger, we lock ourselves into a vision of who we are supposed to be. And when we get outside of the lines, paint outside of the lines of who that person is, how they act, how they behave, how they present, how they mask. You mentioned about, how are we presenting ourselves and is it real? That gets scary because we say, oh, I'm abandoning my character, but your character was never meant to stay stagnant. It was meant to evolve, which I think it's so I'm so excited to see how your tour evolves over this 2-year period that you're going to be touring, because there's no way that you and your audience will stay the same. And what ideas are you all going to have together? Or what are you going to think of in the middle of the night after you're so excited after a show that then you're going to start sneaking into the show the next day or maybe retool it all together?
Who knows? Who knows? I love the parallels we're drawing between neurology and musicianship. That makes me feel like I studied and I'm actually capable of some complex thought rather than just coming up with songs and trying to put them out there into the world. But the show itself, like I've now for the first time ever brought on a director and a producer for the live show because I want this to be like like a theatrical experience where you're experiencing a narrative, not just a concert. But we have the plans in the shows where it's like you show up and you get a certain color wristband, whether it's a red one and a blue one, and when the lights go red, it's red turn to sing. When the lights go blue, it's blue turn to sing, and creating cues for the audience to feel like they are a part of the show, and it wouldn't be this. Everyone's experience is different. And the idea behind everybody before they've come to the show, they're actually not just know the songs, they're singing on the songs. So they know the words and they know the parts they got to sing. So like everyone is just like so cued in that it's just a big celebration of all of our voices. And so that will change. I want that to change. We'll be putting songs in, taking songs out, changing things and all the rest of it. I want it to evolve, but I'm not attached to how it is now, and I'm excited to see where it will change.
I love that you said I'm not attached, because I think that's, again, we've talked about so many kind of magical ingredients to music and to life in our conversation. And I think when you get to that place where you're not attached, that's a great place to be in.
There's something I heard this. Can't remember his name. Peter Crone. I don't know if you know. He's a.
Don't, but I'm going to look him up.
Anyway, he's kind of like a self-help guy. I don't know what his background is. I tuned into a podcast because it was about music. But he said something that really struck with me, and it was trying, because I've done the whole like tortured artist thing and feeling like I'm a martyr and I have to have this like really like power, like I have this really heavy thing that I need to share with the world, and it's like this big pressure. And his way of framing that was like, when you're trying to share something with a really heavy energy, it's so difficult to shift that onto somebody else and then for them to receive it. And like sharing something heavy and sharing something with a heavy energy of like, this is my duty and this is my calling is way more difficult as just an energy exchange than when you're coming at it from a point of view of like, feels light and it feels like exciting for me to share, and the world isn't going to change if it doesn't go the way that I want it to, and this is just an experimentation, and this is just me putting myself out into the world. That's such a light energetic exchange that it has the ability to travel so quickly and between people, because passing something around that is light is so much easier than passing something around that is heavy. And it's a bit of a pained like analogy, but tying to what you just said then, like that really stuck with me. And one of the things that clicked for me recently, which I think has something to do with the the viral nature of the last couple of weeks, and how much investment there has been from personal time investment and attention there has been from the outside world into what I'm doing, is that I kind of just stopped trying so hard in the sense of I'm trying really hard, but I stopped caring so much about the outcome. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to film a few videos, post them out, and I don't know, it was like an energetic shift after hearing that of like, I'm not saving the world. I'm not, this is not, it's okay if this doesn't go so well. I'll be fine. Just put it out, and the right people will see it if it's your time and all the rest of it. Like I'm butchering the point, but basically coming at it from just like trying to not care so much about the outcome and trying to be a little bit more trusting in your gut, and trying to share things from like a light energetic exchange rather than a heavy energetic exchange. Sounds a bit woo-woo, but I do think there is something to that, and I think people can pick up on that energy even if it's through a screen. And I'm done. I've done the desperate, heavy, I poured my heart into this song and please listen to it and all the rest of it. No one cares. It's not about that. You got to give people some energy that they want to share in their life and excite. It's all an energetic exchange. That's what I'm kind of learning, which is very interesting. And I know you've touched on that, and as someone from a science background in a medical field, I'm guessing that's not necessarily the obvious thing that you're taught or encouraged to explore as, especially in your younger career. So I'd be interested to hear how that's come into your life.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it is something that they don't teach you in medical school. Medical school, when you start medical school that weekend, the loved ones in your life are often invited at your medical school to come and go to a family lecture where they prepare them for what the next 4 years of medical school, and then there's residency and all these other things afterwards, what it's going to be like. And what generally they tell you is your loved one who's in medical school now, it's kind of like they're trying to drink from a fire hydrant. It's just blasting them in the face. And that's pretty much what their life's going to be like for the next 4 to 8 years. So they're trying to get so much into you in that compressed period of time that, at least when I was training, I'm older than you. So when I was training back then, I think there was one experience where they talked about the patient experience, right? But even that, and that was the first week of medical school, even that was framed at teaching us how to basically acknowledge how the patient is feeling so that it would help us with our workflow, right? So if the patient is coming in with this energy, you need to adjust so that your 15 minutes with them is going to go off without a hitch, right? So it was still very me centric, right? Keep the clinic flowing. And something you learn, as you said, when you're younger and you're seeing patients alone and you're getting your feet under you as a clinician, nobody's there to see the scientists. They're not actually there for the answers, because you can come. I don't know. Many of us have had the experience. You go to see the doctor and they tell you something and you don't like what they told you. It doesn't align with your goals. It doesn't align with what you want to do right now in this season of your life. So they can tell you the best medicine, the best recommendations. And you're just going to be like, throw that away. I'm not doing any of that, and go home. And you've wasted your time, your money. You're not necessarily going to take that advisement, because a lot of people go into medicine thinking I have to be perfect, which is not true. I have to know everything. You can't. You need to accept that, right? And that I'm coming into that room wearing a mask, and I'm coming in as the all-knowing doctor. It's like I'm the doctor and they're the patient. And for me, when seeing patients, I very quickly decided I'm not wearing a white coat, because this white coat is a barrier between me and my patients, right? Like the mask I'm wearing, when I wear that white coat, it's not going to level me. I want to get on even playing field with my patient, and I want to know what they want, because it became very quickly apparent that if I just went in and I had my script and I told them what I thought they wanted, I was going to be wrong a lot of the time. That's not what my job was. And I needed to come as more of an empty vessel. The vessel is there, right? The knowledge is there. The skills are there. The assessment skills and treatment planning skills, all of that is there. But the vessel is still empty, right? I'm there to capture your essence and to support you on your journey, whatever that looks like for you, the best way I can. And that's going to look very different for every single patient. And that has very little to do with me. And I became a much better physician when I saw myself and my role that way, rather than being the perfect person. So I think, great song, Embracing Imperfection, great song for medical students, because you're not there to be perfect. You're there to teach and support your patient and be there for them on their journey. And so what I actually envisioned when you were talking about your journey and what you let go of, I envisioned, this holding of space. So instead of like when you come in with that heavy energy, or like, I'm filling up the room with all my energy and my plans and everything, and this evolution into like, I'm actually holding space for you and we're going to co-create here. That's the feeling I was getting from your description.
Absolutely. And life is easier when you don't make it all about yourself. Things seem to flow. It's nice to be in service of others. And no, I'm not saying that I'm a philanthropist or what I'm doing is for other people. I still, there's still my ego involved, and I still want to share my music with the world, and there's, all the rest of it. But I do get so much more. It's such a lighter feeling showing up in service of other people and being like, hey, we can do this together. And hey, I can, like, it, I, yeah, just purely energetically, it's a lighter frequency when I'm showing up in the collaborative way and trying to bring people on board and hey, what do you guys want to do, that kind of thing, rather than okay, how do I get people on board with my mission and how do I make them see things my way? It's just you're fighting against the current.
And I know you're inspiring a lot of people, and you can feel that when you go on the social media and the Discord. You can feel that. Who are some people who have inspired you early in your career musically?
It's an interesting question because I feel like in my time as someone trying to pursue music professionally as an artist, it's been this period of insane change with the way that the music industry works, and a lot of industries, entertainment industries. But it's gone from record label, sign X artist, put a bunch of money into them, and then basically try and force feed them to the world, to content creation, largely organic, building of your own following as an independent artist, and going direct to the consumer, direct to the follower, rather than through a manager and then through a label and then through a radio station and then to the audience member. Like it's so different to the people that have come before me. So I've actually found it quite hard to be inspired from like my career perspective. Musically, I mean, my favorite artist of all time is like Sting. My mum got me onto Sting, and we've seen him a bunch of times. But I love Chris Stapleton, the songwriting. I love Rihanna. I think the way that she delivers lyrics and her emotional repertoire in song delivery is incredible. And bands like the 1975, I love some of their recent stuff. Sam Fender, like I could a whole laundry list of musicians that have inspired me. But from like the way that I approach my artistry and my career, it's kind of weird to say, but I'm more inspired by like content creators or even like business marketing gurus who like have taught me how to like show up and build systems and build communities and show up on camera and how to get attention and all that sort of stuff. It's just kind of like new era. And I'm inspired by artists who are like contemporaries, who are doing really cool things. Like Sophia Izella is an artist who I see and I'm just like, you're amazing. You've got this, you know exactly who you are and you know who your audience is. And I think that is the number one thing that any artist needs to figure out is, who is this video for? Who is this song for? Who is my audience? And it's the same in business. It's the same in marketing. You're completely lost if you don't actually know what the piece of content you're putting or piece of music you're putting out into the world, who it's for. And that has been a long journey for me. I know who they are now, but it's taken me a long time to get there. But I see other artists who have really dialed in. Like, I don't know if you know Cameron Whitcomb. I think he's Canadian, but he was on American Idol. Anyway, I really love the way that he's putting himself out into the world, and he's found his thing, and it's overcoming addiction, and it's the struggle with the guy inside, and the way that he puts that out. He knows exactly who he's going for. So I am inspired at the moment by artists on social media who know who their audience is and know what their personal brand is and aren't trying to be like anybody else. But like Gary Vee has been a massive inspiration for me, and he's a marketing guy. Gary Vaynerchuk, he was the guy that got me onto TikTok and taught me how to show up every day and post content and all the rest of it. I listened to the Hormozis, Alex and Layla Hormozi, on how to structure my life in a way that is seeking growth and learning and not being married to the past and I have to see this as a business because I'm doing everything. Like, I didn't know I was going to have to teach myself how to code so that I could build the Choir Imperfect website, but I did, and it's cool. And now I'm glad that I know how to do that. Yeah, there's so much more to it than the traditional music industry. So from a music perspective, sure, I draw inspiration musically, but from my actual day-to-day life and what I'm building, and I don't think no one 5 years ago will have any experience in what I'm doing. So it's not really relevant. That's a long answer to your question, but
I love long answers. I'm the queen of long answers.
okay, good.
This is what we do. No, I love it, and it resonates with me. I'm not creating music here, but with podcasting, in podcasting, it's really easy to get lost in, there's so many flashy things and ideas and hooks and things, but at the end of the day, you have to know what you want to do. And for me, I'm like you. My inspiration comes from doom scrolling and finding people like yourself online who are doing incredible things. And there was a time in my life where I would have seen you doing this incredible thing and I would have liked it and maybe commented if I was brave enough. And I would have moved along and I would have thought, what a great thing that this amazing artist is doing in the world. But as I started my storytelling journey, and it evolved into the podcast Talks with Dr. Shafer, and I've had so many amazing conversations. It evolved into, darn it, I think he's amazing, and I'm going to ask him to be on the show. And oh, you wouldn't believe it. He said yes, and here he is, and we're having this amazing conversation. And it's such a testament to what happens when you get vulnerable and you put yourself out there. And instead of just passively absorbing all of the things, or it's just kind of passing you by online, or the music's passing you by, engage with it, become a part of the community, ask questions, have conversations, because that's where we get out of this stagnant place of like, this is the song and this is what it is, I'll listen to it 10 times and then I'll move on, to building the community where you go to the concert and all your friends are there because you've bonded over this. And I think that's the beauty, and that's why your work resonated with me so much. And I said, hey, Pace, would you come on Talks with Dr. Shafer? I'd love to talk to you, because I felt such a kinship of the overall model of what you're doing. And I think, we can see the world, we can see social media as kind of a cesspool, right? It wouldn't be that hard to do that. But I've crafted my social media based on what I engage with and who is a part of my bubble to be actually this really beautiful place. I hate to say it because people say, what social media are you on? But genuinely, other than all the weight loss drugs that are on there that are driving me a little bit nuts recently, it's just such a good place. And I just tune them out because it's so scary right now, everything that they're doing. But it's a really wonderful place full of people like yourself who are taking this opportunity to reach people, and they're making something really beautiful of it. So I'm so appreciative of the work that you're doing and how you're going about it. And I'm so excited to see how it evolves.
No pressure. Thank you. You speak about it so beautifully, and I completely agree. And I think people would be shocked at how many opportunities they disqualify themselves from on a daily basis just by not taking that extra leap. Like you said, you like it but you don't comment, or you comment but you don't message, or you message but you don't share a little bit about yourself or your journey. Like, I've had the most incredible connections, not to mention the thousands of people that are investing in the project, but I've had interactions with like Adam Levine or Teddy Swims. We did a pop-up show together, and it's like that all just comes from being like, you know what, there's no reason I can't try and reach this person. There's no one stopping me. One of the things I love to do is when I see someone doing something cool on social media, I just send them a message, just say, hey, I think this is really awesome, like, keep going. You're not asking for anything, you're not making it about you, just like, hey, this is awesome, keep going, I see what you're doing. And most of the time they don't reply. When they do reply, it's, oh, hey, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then the 1% of the time where they go, oh, cool, actually what you're doing is cool as well. And then you might strike up a friendship. And then when one of my best friends now lives in Nashville. Every time I'm over there, I go and stay with him. And in 2021, he saw a video of me on TikTok. sent me a message being like, "Hey man, love this video, love what you're doing." And I was like, "Cool, great, thanks man. You're in America, so like we probably can't hang out, but like that's great." 3 years later, I show up in Nashville, post on my story. I said, "Hey, I'm in Nashville. Hit me up if you want to get together." And he sends me a message and he's like, "Hey man, just moved to Nashville, just set up a studio. Would you want to come down and do some writing with me and the guys?" And I was like, "Great." We met, immediately hit it off. I ended up staying in their studio that week. They've now produced the next 4 songs on my record. As I said, he's probably one of my best friends. I'm going over there in June. In July, I'm playing a festival that they're organizing in Nashville. So like that all just came from him. Hey, this guy was cool. Nice video. It's so simple. And people disqualify themselves from those opportunities on a daily basis, on a hourly basis.
They disqualify themselves before they've been disqualified, right?
Yes,
So look at why you're doing that. And then what can we do? How can we, workshop this? So we try the thing and see
absolutely.
how it goes. I love it. And by the way, mad props to Nashville session writers. Holy smokes, they're the real deal. That place is
Have you been?
insane. Oh yeah, I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, so more in the R&B. So when I was doing music as a very young child, so 14 years old, when I was really officially in the music industry there. So that was an interesting time. That was, I don't want to say how many years ago that was actually.
Was it what, like 10 years ago?
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. It was quite a long time ago, but it was a different world in the music industry. And that's one thing, reflecting on what you've shared and where the focus is now as an artist, building your community, doing all of these different things. It's hard in a lot of ways, but also you take back your power and you can really hone your messaging and your imaging, how you're showing up for people in a different way. Because, as a teenager in the music industry, there were a lot of good things, but also you were kind of like a genie in a bottle. Like, okay, let her out of the bottle, let her go do the thing. Okay, get back in. Okay. And don't eat too much while you're in there.
It's too real.
It's too real. Yeah, it was a crazy time in the 90s and 2000s in the music industry. So now I see so many really fascinating things going on in the music industry. And I also see a vulnerability in songwriting that is, we had it back then, but it wasn't the norm, right? It was like breaking from the norm. And now it feels like more the norm. And now when you hear the kind of canned poppy stuff that doesn't have any substance, it's kind of like, it's lacking soul. Whereas before that was the norm. So it's such an exciting time in music. And everyone, if you haven't heard Pace Randolph's music yet, after you've heard this conversation, go to Instagram, go to YouTube, think about what we just talked about the soul and kind of the fabric of the purpose and the mission, and listen to the songs. And it's there. Like you can literally, it's like zooming in on fabric and you see like, wow, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye standing far away. I see how it's all woven together. Your artistry is all woven there. And I say to look on YouTube instead of just listening, because the visuals are also really impactful. So I'd encourage people, yes, listen. I've listened to Fear Me on repeat. I love that song, but also watch the video several times and pick up on the imagery, because there's so much storytelling there too.
You are my favorite kind of person. That's an amazing praise, and it means so. It's very special to have that said about what I do and all the rest of it, because obviously I see the layers and I work on conveying that. But for most people, it's just a passing thing, and they'll listen to the song or they don't listen to the song or whatever. So thank you for seeing that and for for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it.
Pace, it's my pleasure. How can our listeners follow along, get in contact with you, participate? I think the Hamilton song, wait for it, is closed now.
Closed,
You met the
yes.
10,000. It's closed.
Yeah.
You're like, no more 10,000 we're good at 10,000. But how can they participate in future amazing projects?
Absolutely, and there will be many. Thechoirimperfect.com if you go there, you can sign up. You can sing on the original songs that are still up there, and the next cover and everything that we're doing. You'll be on the email list as well, so you'll get updated. Or just, I don't know, Instagram, Pace Randolph at Instagram. It'll be easy to find me. I'm the Choir Imperfect, Pace Randolph. If you find one of those things, then you'll find me.
Once Pace Randolph comes on your radar, then it's like it's everywhere. But it's nice because it's, again, the music is so beautiful and the feeling is so beautiful. The vibes are great. You're going to get it, listen to it. And then I want you to comment on all the promos and socials and the YouTube for this episode and tell me how right I was, and say thank you. We're so excited to meet Pace because this music is amazing and this mission is amazing. I'm so excited. I want to thank you so much, Pace, for being here. This has been so lovely to have this conversation with you.
My absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate how much thought you've put into this, and yeah, thank you for this wonderful energy exchange. You're amazing.
You are too, Pace, and we can all agree that our audience is amazing as well. Them spending this time with us and learning with us and getting our energy and bringing their energy. It's just more of the same. We're all on this same mission to grow and learn together. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Make sure that you subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any more inspiring episodes we have to come. And as always, stay safe and take care. I'll talk to you soon.